Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another week of Premier League predictions. And we're also going to throw in the two FA Cup fixtures as well, because why not? It's obviously the FA Cup semi-final this weekend. Guys, I'm hoping it goes okay, but I am starting to lose my voice a bit, so I might squeak a little bit from time to time in this video. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a warning on that. And before we jump into the first fixture, also just wanted to say a massive thank you to last week's predictions if you did watch them, because they did fantastically well for us, guys, getting lots of subscribers and stuff, which is great to see that you're enjoying these. And apart from that, let's crack on and get into them. We're going to obviously start with Arsenal versus Southampton, and Arsenal really needing a massive result, but they are playing bottom of the league, Southampton, at home, so it is the time to do it. Things really mounting on the title charge with Arsenal now, losing two back-to-back 2-0 leads and drawing the last two games. They are going to need a massive result. But as I say, coming up against the Southampton team that they're just not having that same fight that other clubs are in their position. I don't think it's not for a fact of not trying. I just think they're not good enough and they've not really got that striker. So Arsenal probably won't be fearing that they're going to obviously lose another 2-0 lead. I think Arsenal will get the job done. I think they'll come with some aggression and they'll really want to try and get some good feeling before they obviously face a tougher run of fixtures coming up. So I'm going to go 3-0 Arsenal. We now go on to Fulham, who are taking on Leeds, and Fulham will have a bit of joy, obviously, after a run of bad fixtures ended at the previous weekend. Leeds, on the other hand, an absolute thrashing that I've just watched before recording this video, actually, at the hands of Liverpool, which will need to change if they're going to stay up. You know, they're having a bit of a turbulent run of things. Christ, the voice is going. But this ain't going to be an easy one, especially with Fulham at home, and I do think Fulham will just narrowly nick it. I'm going to go 2-1 Fulham on this one. I think Leeds will get a goal. Another what would have been a relegation battle a couple of weeks ago, but you can't say that anymore. Palace, for me, are pretty much safe now, coming up against an Everton team where pressure is really mounting. Another team that doesn't really have many forward options, but it looks like the Everton fans have had enough of Maupay, and they really seem to want Elliot Sims back in the team, which obviously Dyche has chosen to start Maupay. It'll be interesting to see what he does there and whether he'll listen to the Everton fans and give Elliot Sims the time to start, because they do need to get a result, but it's not going to be easy against a Palace team who are absolutely flying. And we know that Palace can play some good football, but they're really putting that end product to it now as well. You know, you've got players like Eze who are now playing in the more natural position and look absolutely unplayable, as well as other players that you might have not thought of, such as Ayew, really looking exciting to watch. And we know that Palace have always had that excitement under Vieira, but now with Roy coming back in, they're now adding results, which I don't think is going to be an easy game, especially for Everton when you look at their away form this season. I think it's going to be a good game, and I am going to just give it narrowly, I'm sorry, Everton fans, to Palace. I do think they'll get the job done in a 2-1 win there. Now we move on to speaking about Liverpool, who really look to have found some form, and who knows, they've got some favourable fixtures coming up, so they may still have a little bit of a dream of the top four, especially when teams who are battling for that top four are dropping points from time to time. They'll definitely be feeling confident of Europe now, and really the likes of Gakpo and Salah have come back. They've started adding goals, and I'm looking a little bit more like the Liverpool that we would have expected maybe at the start of the season, getting goals. And as we know, they will obviously look to improve that midfield in the summer. Nottingham Forest, it's a really difficult one for them now. You know, Steve Cooper does seem to have lost a lot of faith with the fans, and we know how poor their away form is. Could this have an effect, though, that or the fans aren't really expecting anything from this result? Maybe that's one of these where Forest do just come out and pull out an absolute shock, especially if this Liverpool has any sign of complacency within them. Sadly for Forest, though, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Liverpool are looking really good now, and Forest, as you know, away from home this season, haven't looked great. So I'm going to go to Liverpool, and I'm going to say 2-0. Let's move on to speak about Brentford, who are taking on Aston Villa. And Brentford are really going to need to pick up some points if they're going to get their European chase back on charge. Some may already be thinking that that's starting to move away, especially when you've got a high-flying team like Aston Villa, who are performing really well, looking a really, really strong team, and they're actually dismantling teams that you wouldn't think that they would be dismantling, in all honesty. Emery has got them playing absolutely brilliantly, and I think off the top of my head, since he's come in, they're in the top 4, and if I'm not mistaken, third, if you take the results from when he come in to how to obviously what they've done since he has come in. He's been absolutely brilliant, but playing with confidence there. Watkins looking an absolutely unreal striker. We always knew that he was quite a good player, but he started to add that end product and also prove his Premier League worth, which is going to be a real weapon for Aston Villa towards the end of the season. I do think for that reason, we're going to see a great battle, aren't we? We're going to see Tony versus Watkins, and it's going to be a really interesting battle, but I am going to give it to the away team. I think they're just too good at the moment. I'm actually going to say 2-0 to Aston Villa. Guys, quick one for me, as always. You know what's coming if you've watched this before, but if you are enjoying the video, do me a favour, hit that like button, and if you're not done so already, please do subscribe to the channel. We're picking up some steam now and getting close to that 5k subscribers mark. Do me a favour, hit subscribe. Let's get back to these predictions. Let's move on to speaking about Leicester and Wolves. Obviously, I will cover those in my full match preview when Leicester do take on Wolves. Yeah, obviously, we do the Wolves stuff on separate predictions now. So let's move on and speak about Newcastle, who are taking on Spurs. I did very nearly dive into that Leicester versus Wolves preview, and then I kind of remembered top of my head, no, Scott, you do that by itself now. Obviously, our Wolves videos. Newcastle taking on Spurs now, and this is going to be a really interesting game. Spurs are just doing Spursy things, aren't they, at the moment? Obviously, not taking anything away from Bournemouth because they got a fantastic result against them, and obviously that last minute winner. But it's just typical Spurs, isn't it? Just doing what we'd expect of Spurs, just having an absolute meltdown, and it's not going well for them. But they've now got to go to St James's Park. Never an easy game, is it, with those guys? And we know that Newcastle might be a little bit disappointed with obviously how the last result went, but I expect them to bounce back. We know that Spurs have obviously got goals in them, but we also know that the Spurs, and this is a big game for Spurs. And what do Spurs do in big games? They lose the big games. So for that reason, I'm giving it to Newcastle. I'm going to go 3-1 to Newcastle in that one. I've obviously just praised Bournemouth for getting that massive result against Spurs, and they look to be getting ever and ever closer to safety now. Coming up against the West Ham team, who obviously got that nice result against Arsenal, but they will maybe be looking to, even though they did well to get a point against Arsenal, they'll now be looking to follow that up with a win. This feels like would have been an even bigger game maybe 3 or 4 games ago when both of these teams are right in the middle of the relegation battle. But maybe both sets of fan bases are feeling quite confident that they will be playing in the Premier League come next season. But of course, both have still got a little bit of a job to do and they can't quite be on the beach just yet. Obviously, they are going down to the coast and they are playing Bournemouth in Bournemouth. I think this is going to be a really interesting game, actually. I fancy there to be goals in this one. I don't think I've predicted a big scoring draw yet. So let's go for this one. I'm going to say it's going to be 2-2 in this fixture. That's the end of the Premier League one, guys, but do not leave us because we're going to move on to FA Cup. I'm going to throw these in as like little bonus ones for us. Of course, we've got Man City who are taking on Sheffield United. It's one of these, isn't it? Let's be honest. We expect City to get the job done. Maybe they will look to rest a few players just so that, you know, they can focus more on the Champions League and the league title. And that could offer a little bit of an opportunity to a Sheffield United team who are obviously performing very well in the Championship. And let's take nothing away from this team. I don't want to take anything away from Sheffield United. They've obviously done really well to get to this stage of the FA Cup and a massive day at Wembley. You know, I think that in itself will maybe mean that Sheffield United will look to cause an upset. And who knows, if City aren't coming out with and treating them with the respect that they deserve, that could cause an upset. The problem is, I don't think that's what a Guardiola team does. I think they'll look to get the game put away, and I think they will win it. I am going to give it City. I'm going to go 3-0 in all honesty. This one might be a little bit of a harder one to predict. Obviously, Brighton taking on Manchester United. This is going to be a hard game to predict, actually, because you could see it going either way. Both teams obviously having quite good seasons by all merit. You know, Manchester United now will be very confident of achieving the top four, which you would say was a massive improvement for them. Brighton, on the other hand, also having a very good season and probably doing better than expected, especially after the lost Graham Potter, to be in the position they are in the league and also have this massive FA Cup tie. It's going to be a big one. It's a hard one to predict, this one. I could see it ending up as a draw and maybe going to penalties. Maybe I'll predict that. It's going to go to penalties. Do I do it? Give it to? I'm going to be honest. I kind of want Brighton to win. It'd just be nice to see a team that doesn't usually make the final. So you know what, stuff it. Brighton are going to win this one on penalties. Sorry, United fans, do not take it personal. And that is the end of our predictions now. We've done the Premier League predictions. We've done the FA Cup predictions. As always, let me know your predictions in the comments for both of these, the Premier League and the FA Cup. Drop me as a like as well. And please do subscribe to the channel. And we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, guys. Goodbye.